Hello, today I have the Minix Neo P3 and Neo P1 66 watt and 100 watt USB power adapters. These power adapters were a viewer request. If you make a note down in the comments, we'll see if we can get it on the channel. If you're new to the channel, there's a whole series on these power adapters where I test them for the power in and out while also comparing them to other offerings. There are billions of power adapters in use, and this series will help you make an informed buying decision since not all devices are created equal. So first, looking at the 66 watt power adapter, you can see they list a lot of information on their box. This little carrying bag. In our first look, we can see that it has the TUV C and US for safety listing, so that's a good thing. Have our model and NAIC up here. So something unique for this comes with is these little plug-in adapters. This can be used with the UK plug, obviously not grounded. And you can see they have the sleeves on the two power pins. And we have the smaller pronged European style, so this will be more like the user manual for this one is quite comprehensive. All right, next we got this 100 watt Minix power adapter. Very similar experience. Looks like we have the same kind of adapters and packaging information. Here we can see our 3 USB-C ports and USB-A port, and you can see that these are all pretty clearly labeled on what they can do for output powers. Here we can see they have a little bit of a different safety listing on this one. It has a ETL, Canada, US. They don't give us an input current on this one, but they have the usual on there. This is the INVZI power adapter from a couple of weeks ago. Very curious about the design of this one. Something about the shape and the size and the safety listing being by the same company and the everything being identical. I think we've got two of the same power adapters here. The packaging and accessories for the Neo P1 weigh 89 grams. The Neo P1 weighs 115 grams. Just for comparison, the Anker Nano 2 weighs 116 grams. They're definitely very different form factors, and we obviously get more ports with one of these, but they're very similar in size overall between these. The accessories and bits for the Neo P3 100 watt power adapter weigh 94 grams. The power adapter weighs 186 grams. In comparison to the INVZI, it weighs 195 grams, so a little heavier. Our Satechi power adapter weighs 193 grams, so they're all in the same kind of ballpark, but the Minix unit is a little bit lighter. I also have the 66 watt INVZI power adapter, and my suspicion is that it is exactly the same as this Minix or Mini X, or however you're supposed to say that. They're the same power adapter. As a very, very popular charger that's rebranded a lot, well, and obviously we're starting to see that, and there are many, many chargers that are sold under this same model, this P256B, 65 meaning 65 watts, and these are both say 66 watt chargers, but we're really 65 watt chargers. They just turned the number up one. So one thing I noticed with these smaller power adapters is when I plug them in, I tend to get a pretty good spark at the inlet on the AC side. Some do it, some don't. It really depends on where you catch the AC sine wave, and these obviously don't have any inrush current limiting, so they just pop when you plug them in if you happen to be at the peak of the sine wave. Alright, so over here we can immediately see that the idle power consumption is fairly high. Right now it's just sitting here, not plugged in. We're seeing like 0.23 watts. Okay, so we're running at the maximum power, 66 watts. And we can see over here, we definitely do not have power factor correction. Our THD is pretty high. Our expectation is that the graph is going to be pretty terrible looking. We can see the big spikes for our current and our power usage and the sine wave for the voltage coming in. And here's a little clip from the Satechi unit that shows what a good graph would look like. Let's go ahead and check this unit for overload and see how far it can push it. So we're at 66 watts, 73 watts, 75 watts. It does recover to the 5 volts. So it looks like we get about 75 watts out of this unit for an overload condition. That's really not bad. Just as a comparison, the INVZI came in at 74 watts, so right on top of each other. Same power adapter, like I said. In terms of port sharing, these two are going to be identical to each other. I'm just going to put on screen what they claim for this one. It met its requirements. It does what it says it does, so the port sharing, you know, it's appropriate. And here's a list of what the device can do in terms of its different voltage outputs and capabilities for charging your devices, powering your devices. All right, so we're plugged in with the 100 watt power adapter now, and every once in a while, you can see it's overranging here, but you can see we're about 100 milliwatts for the idle power consumption on this one, which is pretty good actually. And it's extremely similar to what we saw with the 100 watt INVZI unit, because these two are the same unit. Okay, we got the Minix, INVZI, whatever, running at the 100 watts on the output. And we can see over here that we have a power factor of 0.59, about 109 watts coming in. Pretty typical values for this thing. About 6 amps peak, not very nice. About 1.5 amps on the RMS side, which is also not very nice. Let's take a look at that graph and see the terribleness. And oh yeah, that is not pretty. Okay, let's take this device up to overload. 100 watts, 104 watts, 119 watts, 122, and it's off. And it recovered to the 5 volts. So 121 watts was the output power from this device before it decided it should trip on the overcurrent. It's a little on the high side, but it's okay. Again, for this 100 watt device, I'm going to go ahead and put up the various ports and the outputs that they can all handle, as well as the devices that it can charge. And overall, on the DC side, all 4 of these chargers do a good job. There's no issues with how it interacts with your device and charging your device. There's a little bit of resetting in terms of the USB-C negotiation. Well, this one didn't do very good, and no surprise that this one did exactly the same. It draws too much current. It has reasonably high efficiency when it's actually operating, but it's just not very good. When we take a look at it with its competitors, we can see that it's way down the list. For a 100 watt class power adapter, this is terrible. Any of the power factor corrected models handily will beat this one up. And that power factor correction means that you're going to use less current from the grid, which means your device is going to be more power efficient in terms of how it uses the energy from the wall. So it may be real power-wise at the device more efficient, but that doesn't mean it's going to be cheaper when you pay for your electricity bill. Now on to our 65 watt devices. The P256B model number, effectively. These are bad. I mean, for power quality-wise, they're the same thing as the 100 watt power adapter, but it's scaled down a little bit so that the peak current's a little lower and everything else. But in terms of efficiency, they end up also scaling that down a little bit. They're just kind of worse in every way. And this is mostly referring to that AC side. Like I say, on the DC side, these all work just fine. So they're going to charge your devices. And in the 65 watt class, 66 watt, I'm just going to say 60 to 70 watt class, in that range, they're definitely on the low side. So we have an 82 and an 81 between these two power adapters for that overall power quality score. And the idle also was pretty low, 29 in this case. And the idle power consumption for both of these devices was 0.23 watts. So on the high side, also meaning that they do not meet the DOE 6. There are many reasons not to get these power adapters. Of course, in this 65 watt class, there's really, really hard to find good power adapters. So even the best power adapter I've tested in this class is the Amazon Basics 65 watt. Isn't amazing. It's better than these. It's not chart topping or anything like that. Right, I've had it running for a little while now, and we can see thermally the case is staying around 50 degrees C. Not too bad. It's still rising a little bit, but overall, when we look at these various different devices, on the 100 watt side, the Minix is expensive. So again, we're talking about like $60+ device. It just doesn't have the performance to back up that price point. When we look at the other two devices, the 66 watt devices, they're about $40. And I also can say that they just don't have the performance to back up that price point. Everybody gets to make their own decision, so if some of these power adapters look like they're going to work for you, there's links in the description, of course. It takes several people looking at these things to find out which ones really have the best. In terms of how these work on the AC mains, they're just not very nice. And obviously these are being mass produced one place and they're just all identical. Okay, let's go ahead and apply a sticker. It's been tested. So if you want, you can go to this web address now and you can check out the list of the devices that have been tested so far and let me know what you think. So definitely tune in again. There's a whole bunch of other 65 watt power adapters that are going to be coming out soon. All right, thanks for watching, and especially thank you to all the subscribers for watching these videos and making suggestions on future videos. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.